And guess what? It's the new day. Yes, given the time, it is now after 7. Yeah, see? After 7. Okay, so, did my normal, boring, typical run of the day, start of the day. I gave you guys a little brief introduction as to what I was doing this morning. But you know what? There's a game I haven't really touched on a lot lately. And, I did mention that I am interested in it. And I do play every so often. Well, the game is Magic, the Gathering. Here's a couple of the treasure cards. I don't know if you can see that or not. See that? Ooh. And then there's another treasure card. Okay, what this treasure card does is sacrifices artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Alright, so to give you an idea what I'm doing, I started doing a combination colors. Okay, for those of you that are familiar with the game, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But for those of you that aren't, okay, I'm going to give you a quick rundown. Okay, if I flip over the back of this card here, you're going to see a variety of different colors. You see white, green, red, blue, and black. That one, little one there is supposed to be black. You see that? Little one there, black. So you got white, green, red, black, and blue. Okay, so these are mana. Okay, mana obviously has to do with particular colors. And you see this is white and this is black. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm putting together a combination deck. Alright, so when doing this, of course, you have to have cards, white cards and black cards. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is putting the whites in a pile. Okay, and we're going to put, there's another card that I'm putting in here, which I'll talk about in a bit. Then there's the black cards are going in there. Alright, let me get these all going. Now, some of these cards are kind of unique, and I'll explain that to you in just a minute. Alright. Alright, so here's what we got. Alright, so here's some white cards. Alright, it's always good to have an idea what you're going to go with. Now, see, that's a vampire soldier. Okay, so there's a vampire, and you see how there's 2 of the same card. There's 2 of the same card. Okay, there's sorcery card. Now, what I'm trying to do for those of you that are new to this game, okay, to give you an idea, and I'll make this real brief. You see it says creature on it, creature. And this is a vampire soldier. Okay, here's another creature card. It says vampire soldier. Okay, then underneath there's a little description. There's a little description. Okay, now if I play this card, it gives me an opportunity to do something. This one, when I'm attacking, I get an opportunity to do something. Okay, now the other card you see is a sorcery card. Now these sorcery cards can only be played on your turn unless otherwise stated. Okay, instant cards can be played at any time, like in an instant. Okay, alright, there's this one, it's an enchantment, and these typically are played only on your turn. So enchantment on your turn, creatures primarily on your turn, and sorcery on your turn. Instant cards or anytime. Okay. Gave you a brief description of the cards. Okay. Now, Remember I said there's other cards in here? These are what you call colorless. You see how it's got no color listed up there? Okay. So these are called artifact equipment. Okay? Artifact equipment. There's another artifact equipment. Now, why do I have 3 cards of the same? You can actually play up to 4 of each card. Okay? And this one gets, see, equipped creature gets +1, +0. And whenever equipped creature deals damage, combat damage to a player, create a colorless artifact token with tap, sacrifice this artifact, one of many mana of any color to your color pool. Now you know why I have 3 of them. Because when I equip them to a creature, and it costs 1 to play, and it costs 2 to equip, so 3. But if I attack with a creature, I can bring one of those up. Now, there's no limit to how many of these I can bring up in one turn. So, let's say I had 3 creatures with each one having one of these, and all 3 of them dealt damage to the player. Because remember, that's what it says. Whenever a equipped creature deals damage to a player. Yeah! Okay. Deals damage to a player. Well, then you can turn around and put one of those tokens out. So I can generate, thanks, I can generate, love you there. I can generate a token for each creature that's got that equipment on them. So I still need to get another one of those cards. Because with playing a mixed deck, now if I was playing all just white, it really wouldn't matter how many different things I had on the field. But I'm playing white and black. So I can bring out artifacts, that artifact token, and I can use it for a black, or I could use it for a white. Okay, so now that we made all that plain and clear, and then this one here, you see this card? It costs 1 to bring up. When this one totem enters the battlefield, scry 1. So that means I can look at the top card of your library. You may put that card on the bottom of your library. This is the main reason I'm putting it in, the second part. Okay? Exile, Sentinel, Totem. Exile all cards from all graveyards. Now the reason why I would do something like that is because there are certain creatures that, depending on how many creature cards and stuff like that are in the graveyard, people can actually turn around and power up creatures by dead ones. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. But your creatures, the more creatures that are in all graveyards, you can actually power up your cards. Another reason why it's good to get rid of graveyards is some people can actually take cards out of your graveyard. So, and I say cards, I mean sorcery, enchantments, artifacts, and so you start out with the thing called a library, which is where all your cards are originally stored. You shuffle it up, you draw 7 cards, and then you draw your 8th card to start your turn. Okay, that's pretty much the basis on how to start the game. And depending on the mana, it depends on what you can play. Like you'll notice that costs 1, this costs 2, this costs 3. See, 2 colorless and a white. So I can use any color for the colorless, but I have to use at least 1 white. So when building a deck, you kind of want to keep it fairly even. Alright, your colorless, you don't want to go too overboard where you need to become more dependent on a particular color. The more dependent you are on one color, the harder the game can be. Okay, it really can be. This was a brief introduction into the game. I've discussed the light part of it, the white part of this deck, and it's going to be a vampire deck, is what I'm building. And you'll see why I like it, but you'll see that I'm having a hard time finding enough white ones to power up what I want to do. But anyway, to give you an idea of one other side is we're just going to touch on real quick the dark side of this deck. And let me just get stuff to where it needs to go. Okay. Alright, here's the black. Now, the cool thing about black is I've got... See the black one here? You see how it says that? But if you look, there's a slightly difference between this one and this one. Okay, you see that word devoid? Devoid? Okay. It says this card has no color. This card has no color. It's weird because now the reason why it's there is because people cannot counteract that card unless it's a colorless. See, there are cards in play in the deck that actually prevent you from playing a mono-colored deck. Okay. So it's always good to run combination color. But if you, like in this case, you see I require 2 black, so I have to have 2 black on the field in order to play that card, plus an additional 4. So I have to have a minimum of 6 mana. Alright, here's more drawbacks. See? And 2 of them have to be black. You see that? 2 of these each have to be black. See that? Same thing. And you'll notice, now here's the thing. You'll notice the one that costs the most is right here. 4 and 2. And you're like, holy smokes, that's a lot of mana. That's 6 mana to play. Ah, but there are ways around that. You see this flying? It says, tap 3 untapped vampires you control. Return Deathless Ancient from your graveyard to your hand. Remember how I was talking about how important it is to exile all cards from all graveyards? This is why. Because if I tap 3 vampires, it automatically comes back to my hand. So even if you, let's say somebody attacked with this 4/4 and they killed it with a 1/2 death touch, I can bring this back just by tapping 3 vampires and whoop, right back to my hand. I can play it again next turn. So, yeah, it's always important to be familiar with some of the different types of cards and strategies that are out there. An example. See this one? All I have to do, it's a 1/2, okay? Tap an extra mana. It's only 1 to bring out, okay? 1 to bring out. I add 1 mana to this, and it's going to give it Death Touch. So it can take out a 6/6 creature easy. It's just because it has Death Touch. You know, so it's always important to have a variety of different patterns and plans in place. I always recommend, if you're starting out the game, start with a starter deck, or team up with somebody that's been playing a while, and they can actually simplify a deck for you. In this case, most of my creatures are vampires. I've got a few bats, but you know, a bat goes with a vampire, so. But, and most mine are 1/1s, you know, 1 basic cost, because I'm trying to get away from the too many high cost cards. Because you spend too many high cost cards, you can be sitting with, an example, that 6 card there, I could be sitting with that in my hand for 6 turns. 6 turns. Can you believe that? This one, 5 turns. And you see how that's double up? Double up right there. 2 black I need, and I need 3 additional. So I mean, it doesn't all have to be black. It can be white too, but that's quite a few turns to be sitting. Here's another one. 6 turns. 6 turns I could be sitting with that card in my hand. You see that lifelink? Oh, it's great to have. Enters the battlefield, it explores. Yeah, it's nice to have, but it can literally be the end of you if you're not getting creatures up or enchantments. What you want to do is be playing something literally from your first turn out. Yeah, and then there's the more instant exile target creature, and then see exile. So what you want to do is basically kill your opponent's creatures, try to control the field the best you can, and make it to where you can. You're always playing a card every turn, and the more mana you're playing, a mana every turn. That's kind of what you want to do. This has been a brief introduction to the game, and I'll talk more about it later. Thank you very much, and have a great day.